our dog so awkward? Because I've had a dog for 5 years, so you would think he would be comfortable around me by now. But every night, me, my parents, and the dog watch TV together in the living room. But if my parents ever leave the room so it's just us two in there, the dog will literally look at me like this. It's like we're hanging out with a mutual friend, but then that friend leaves, so we're just stuck with each other. And you might be like, oh, well, maybe your dog just doesn't like you. But no, he's like this whenever he's alone with anyone. He's just awkward. And don't even think about making eye contact with him, because if you stare at him for too long, he gets super uncomfortable. Like, there's no way he's not a human inside a dog body. It's probably my fault, though, because I bet he sees that I'm really awkward, and since I'm his owner, he just tries to copy me. Because that's how I look at people when we're alone together. You ever been jealous over someone you weren't even dating? Because I used to like this girl, but I would never talk to her because I was trying to be the mysterious, nonchalant guy. But I always thought that somehow we would be together in the future. Until one day when I'm scrolling through social media and I see that she posted a story, but she never posts stories. So I click on it and guess what's on it? A photo of her hugging another dude. So at first I'm like, wait, maybe it's just one of those weird siblings or dating things where that's actually her brother. But then I click on his profile and he posted a picture the same day of them kissing. So I hope they weren't siblings. But I was heartbroken because I thought what we had was special. I was thinking, how could you do this to me? Keep in mind, I'm saying all this while I didn't even know the girl's favorite color because I never talked to her. Turns out that not talking and trying to be mysterious just makes people think you're weird. What would you do if a little kid's mom accused you of kidnapping her son? Because that's what happened to me. So I was at the store just buying groceries and a little kid comes up to me and says, hey, I watch your videos. So I was like, thanks buddy, I appreciate that. But he was no older than like 7 and I looked around but I didn't see any parents. So I asked him where they were. But right as I did that, his mom comes flying around the corner and says, Elliot, get back here. Do you not remember what I said about strangers? They'll kidnap you. And at first I was like, facts, your mom is right. You gotta be careful. But then I thought about it and I was like, wait, is she implying that I would be the one doing the kidnapping? Do I just look like someone that would do that? Because she was staring at me as if I was Diddy. I didn't even initiate the conversation with the kid, but the mom still cooked me. From now on, I'm running away if you guys see me in public. Have you ever met someone whose face doesn't match their personality? Because there's this guy that always goes to the gym at the same time as me, and he's built like the Hulk. Like, he is terrifying, and he has an angry resting face, so I've never talked to him because of how intimidating he is. But one time, I was working out on the machine next to him, and after I finished my set, I feel someone tap on my shoulder, and it's this monster of a man. So I'm thinking, well, someone tell my family I love them. But then he opens his mouth and he's like, hey man, I saw you working out. You're crushing it. Do you think you could spot me for my bench press? So I took a big exhale and was thinking, wait, you didn't come over here because you're gonna eat me for extra protein? Because I expected him to act way more scary. But the most funny part is, we started having a conversation and he told me he's a dentist. Like, imagine having The Rock as your dentist. I wouldn't be eating any candy. Nobody talks about the difference between how girls text versus guys. Because I got a new phone recently, but I lost all my contacts. So whenever someone would text me, I wouldn't know who it was because it just said their phone number and not their name. But I could still always tell whether it was a guy texting me or a girl. Because when it was a girl, they would use a lot more acronyms. Like, I got a text from a girl saying WYDTATG. And at first, I was just like, uh-oh, someone has spell check turned off on their phone. But no, it was just one of my friends that's a girl saying, what you doing tonight after the game? But when my guy friends text me, they just say the most random stuff for no reason. Like, I got a text out of the blue that said, I just dropped the loudest fart in the library. And I didn't even have to ask who sent the message. Right when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, that's my homie Tom. Nobody talks about how much worse pick-me boys are than pick-me girls. Because I hear people all the time roast girls for being pick-me's, but boys are way worse. Because I went to school with a pick-me guy, and we sat next to each other in class. But there was also 2 other girls at our table, and he would always try flirting with them. And they didn't really seem interested in him, but this kid was bold. So he would straight up just be like, do any of you guys want to give me your number? And when they would politely decline, he would be like, yeah, I get it. I'm probably just too ugly, huh? But the very worst pick-me thing he ever did was when he brought a book to school, and during all of lunch, he looked like he was reading it. So I asked him what the book was about, and he said he didn't know. He just pretended to read the book, hoping that girls would notice him. I respect it though. Game is game. Nobody talks about how scary it is when you use the wrong humor with the wrong friend group. Because I have 2 friend groups, one from school and one that I played sports with, but they have very different senses of humor. My friends from school really find brain rot memes funny, but the other day, I was talking with the sports group, and one of the guys said he was gonna get a haircut, so he asked us for recommendations on what to get, and someone said, oh, you should get a low taper. So right after he said that, I sung, imagine if Ninja had a low taper fade. But right after I did that, they looked like they wanted to banish me from the friend group. So I was like, you guys don't know the Ninja Low Taper Fade meme? It's massive. But none of them knew it because they actually have a life. So I was just sitting there embarrassed. I need to touch grass, man. Never act on your intrusive thoughts because my brother just had a baby, but the day it was born, he asked me if I wanted to hold it. So I said yes and was super excited. But the moment I picked up that baby, the first thought in my brain was, I wonder how far I could throw it. So immediately, I told my brother to take the baby back, but he asked why, and I couldn't tell him the real reason, so he was like, you just started holding him. Hold him for a little while longer. So now, I was freaking out because the intrusive thoughts fully kicked in. But while I'm still holding the baby, my sister-in-law goes, it's getting pretty hot in here. Can we open a window? And before I say this next part, just know that we are on the 8th floor of the hospital. But anyways, the nurse opens the window, and this was the worst possible thing she could have done because right when she did it, my next thought was, throw the baby out the window, throw the baby out the window, throw the baby out the window. Like, what is wrong with me? If you give a girl any information about a person, they will be able to find them because one time I was at a basketball game with some friends and we took a group picture together, but I didn't look at the picture until the game was over, and once I did, I noticed a really pretty girl sitting in the background 2 rows behind us. So I was like, dang, I wish I saw her during the game so I could have talked to her, and I told my friend that's a girl about this, and she was like, oh, I'll help you find her. And I was like, thanks, but that's impossible. I don't know her name or anything about her. But she was like, no, I can do it. So I was like, yeah, right, whatever. But then about 3 hours later, I get a text and it's from her. But you know what's in the text? It's all the social media profiles of the girl from the game. I asked her how she found it, and the way she explained it made it sound like she was a detective. Unfortunately, it didn't matter because I DM'd the girl and she never answered. But hey, it's the thought that counts, right? This is your warning to never be friends with a colorblind person. Because one time, I went to go visit my colorblind friend, but he lives in another state. So he was at work when my flight arrived. So he said his girlfriend was gonna pick me up, but they just started dating, so I didn't know what she looked like. So I asked my friend what kind of car she would be picking me up in, and he says it's a green Honda. So my flight lands, and I'm outside looking for a green Honda, but I don't see one. So after about 30 minutes, I call my friend, and I'm like, hey, is your girlfriend here yet? So he calls her, then he's like, yeah, she says she's been waiting for you for like half an hour. Then I was like, well, is she at Terminal B where I'm at? And he said yes. So I tell him to ask her to honk her horn so I could see if I hear it. And she does it. And guess what? She was literally parked 50 feet in front of me the whole time. I just never saw her because my friend said to look for a green Honda, and what was she driving? A red one. This is my fault though, because this is the same guy who used to think that Rudolph was the green-nosed reindeer. Why do people like ASMR? Because I just saw this ASMR video where the girl put the mic right next to her ear and she started cleaning out her earwax with a Q-tip, and it had millions of views. But all the comments were saying stuff like, this scratches the perfect part of my brain. And I don't get it because all that video did for me was make me want to throw up from seeing earwax. Like, how do millions of people find that satisfying? Am I the weird one for not enjoying it? Because whenever I see an ASMR video, it just makes me super uncomfortable. Like, the hairs on my arm will literally stand up while watching these videos. And don't even get me started on how weird some of them are. Like, what part of doing acupuncture do you find satisfying to listen to? Not every single noise needs to be turned into an ASMR video, please. Why are people vegans? Because I have a friend that's vegan, and every time I eat with him, he looks like he wants to throw up because of how bad the vegan food is. So I asked him why he's even vegan in the first place if he doesn't like the food, and he said, it's because I care about the animals and want them to live. Well, that can't be true because you're the one eating all their food now. And then he was like, well, I just feel guilty knowing that an animal was sacrificed just so I could eat it. But like, if you don't eat the animal, then it was sacrificed for nothing. You should feel guilty about that. Do vegans not understand that once the meat is in the grocery store, that animal is not coming back to life? Because I'm sorry, but I don't think you can revive a cow after it's already been turned into a Big Mac. And to any vegan who is like, well, if I don't eat meat, then less animals will be used for food. All I have to say to you is, that's not true because I've been eating double the amount of meat lately. Wait, I hate having a Gen Z teacher because one time, while she was in the middle of teaching, a couple of kids in the back of the classroom were talking, so she was like, guys, what is so important that you have to talk while I'm teaching? But then one of the girls answered and was like, Sarah and Ryan broke up. But instead of just continuing to teach after they said this, the teacher goes, good for Sarah. I thought they were a bad match anyway. And she literally said this while Sarah and Ryan were in the class. But a couple weeks later, the teacher tells us that we have a seating change. And you know what 2 people she put right next to each other? Sarah and Ryan. Like, this teacher literally loves drama and gossip more than the students. But also, since she just graduated a couple years ago, she knows that most students just use the internet to find answers for their homework. Because during lunch one day, I asked her if she could help me with a problem from our classwork. And she said, no, not while I'm on my lunch break. Go look it up on Quizlet or something. That's what you guys do anyway. Like, can we just have robot teachers at this point? I did all the coolest things happen whenever you missed a day of school. Because one time, I was super sick, so I didn't want to go to school. And I sent a picture to my friends of me laying in bed at like 10 a.m. and said, haha, you guys have to go to school while I'm playing video games. But I was not prepared for what my friend's response was gonna be. Because he replied by sending me a selfie of him with Shaq inside our classroom. So I responded and was like, please tell me why Shaq is standing inside my math class right now. And he said apparently our school had the best grades in the state or something. So Shaq came to congratulate us, and they had a bunch of free food and everything. Like, I had good grades too. I deserved to see Shaq. So the next day when I show up to school, I'm like, okay, well, maybe they'll have something really cool today also. But no. The first moment I walk into class, the teacher goes, okay guys, I know everyone had a lot of fun yesterday, but today, we have a pop quiz. Why? Like, why do I never miss these days of school? I just made a little kid cry at Crumble Cookie because I was waiting in line, but right when it was my turn to order, one of the workers says, "Attention everybody, we only have 2 of the pumpkin roll cookies left." And after he said that, a little kid behind me who would have been next up to order goes, "Mom, there's 2 pumpkin cookies left. We made it just in time to get one." But little did this kid know, I wasn't just getting cookies for me, I was getting it for my roommates too. And they all wanted the pumpkin one. So the employee asks what I want, and I say, "I'll take 2 of your pumpkin roll cookies, please." But right when I say this, the kid starts screaming. No words, just screaming. So the mom picks him up and walks outside the door as fast as possible. So he didn't even get any cookies. But the most sad part was, I heard how excited the kid was for the pumpkin roll cookie. So after I ordered, I was gonna tell him he could have mine, thinking that would make his day. But I didn't even get a chance to because his mom took him out of the store before I could do it. And I totally understand why he crashed out like that over a cookie because these are really good. Nobody talks about how hard it is to pass a class when your teacher sucks at using technology. Because on my very first day of high school, I walked into my English class and opened Google Docs to take notes. But right as I did it, my teacher goes, no computers allowed in my classroom. So instead, I start putting my phone on my desk during lectures because I have this app that turns recordings into notes. Then one day while I'm doing this, he comes up to me, picks up my phone, and hands me a detention slip. And I got so mad because all TurboLearn does is make notes and quizzes. It's literally just a study tool and he's acting like I'm cheating during class. But the worst part about it is that he made us write 3 2,000-word essays by hand because he hates technology so much. I mean, if you're gonna teach like it's the 1800s, at least let me use a typewriter or something. If you ever wanna know whether a couple will break up or not, there's a super easy way to tell. All you have to do is look at how they reject people that try flirting with them. Because I've seen girls that were in relationships before that would have guys come up to them and flirt, and they would literally respond by being like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, but I have a boyfriend." You're sorry? If I was dating a girl and she said that she was sorry she was dating me, I'd cry. She's basically saying she wishes she could flirt back, but she can't. Now, if it's a couple that isn't gonna break up, the girl will react to being flirted with like this. "Hey girl, do you think I could get your phone number?" And this goes for guys too, because I've seen guys get flirted with. Must be nice. But anyways, they would react by being like this. "Hey, I think you're really cute and..." No, I have girlfriend! What would you do if you walked into your living room and saw a random person sleeping on your couch? Because that's what happened to me today. So last night, my roommate asked me to keep the front door of our apartment unlocked because he was gonna be getting home late. But around 1 a.m., I heard the front door open and I just assumed it was him coming home. But about 30 minutes later, I went to the kitchen to grab a snack because I'm a big back. And what do I see? A random guy sleeping on the couch in our living room. Now, I've never seen this man in my life, so I nudge him trying to wake him up, but he didn't. So eventually, I just screamed, "Wake up!" And he finally did. But when he opened his eyes, he looked terrified to see me and he asked why I was in his apartment. So I was like, "Dude, you're in my apartment." But then he looked around and he was like, "Oh yeah, this isn't my couch." So he explained to me that he was super tired when he got home and he must have walked into the wrong place without knowing. Apparently his actual room was 1 floor directly below ours. I'm just glad he wasn't trying to rob me because this is how that would have gone down. "Give me all your money! I have nothing!" This is your warning to always put a password on your phone. Because I knew this guy that was in a relationship, but his girlfriend did not trust him at all. So one day, he went to work out, but he forgot his phone and he doesn't have a passcode on it. So when his girlfriend saw this, she took his phone, but she didn't check to see if he was talking to any other girls. Instead, she put her phone case on his phone, then she changed his screensaver to the one on her phone, and finally, she moved all his apps around to make it look exactly like her phone. And you know why she did this? She did it so when he got home, she could go through her phone and he wouldn't think anything of it because it just looked like it was her phone. I guess looking through it while he was at the gym just wasn't enough. But I don't get it. Why would you not trust your boyfriend if he doesn't have a passcode? That man clearly has nothing to hide at that point. How can girls not tell when their friend has a crush on their boyfriend? Because I just saw a video this girl posted where her boyfriend and her best friend were playfully fighting. And I literally felt like I was interrupting something just by watching because you could tell they just wanted to make out the whole time. But the poor girlfriend is recording these videos behind the screen laughing as if it's some funny joke. No, girl, that friend of yours is in love with your man. And based off how your man was acting, he feels the exact same way. And I get it. I'm insecure, so I probably just think that everyone's cheating on me. But it gets to a point where it becomes so obvious that you can't miss it. Like she was literally third wheeling, even though she's the one in the relationship. But the saddest part is, you can't even convince her that's the truth. You just have to wait until they inevitably break up. How do you tell someone you like them? Because I've never been in a serious relationship, even though I've had a lot of crushes. Because every time I've ever liked a girl, this is what I do when I see them. Like, there's literally no way for the girl to recognize that I like them. So that leaves it up to me to be the one to initiate a conversation, but I never know what to say. Because it just feels so awkward to walk up to a girl and be like, "Hey, I like you." I think if I did that, the girl's response would be, "I will pepper spray you." But this is terrifying because girls don't approach me, so if I don't approach them, I'm gonna be alone forever. I mean, I'm pretty sure my dad already thinks that I'm never gonna get a girlfriend, so at least he won't be surprised. I'm such a disappointment. This is your warning to never use the bathroom on an airplane. Because I was just on a flight, and I got up to use the restroom, but someone was in there. So I waited until I heard the seatbelt sign turn on, and the captain said, "We're gonna be running into some slight turbulence for a little bit. Please sit down." But I really had to go to the bathroom, so I stayed by the door. And there was a moment where the whole plane shook really hard from the turbulence, and I heard a loud thud come from the bathroom. So about 30 seconds later, the man in the bathroom comes out, and he's staring at the ground, making sure to not make eye contact with me. But then I look down at his pants, and they're all wet. So I go inside the bathroom, and there is liquid all over the place. So I don't know if he was in the middle of going number one while the turbulence hit us and he lost control, or if something else happened. But it got even worse, because after I was done in the bathroom, I came out and someone else was waiting, but right when they walked in, I heard them say, "Ew." So they definitely thought I was responsible for the mystery liquid. Thanks a lot, bathroom man. Why are school drills so useless? Like when I was in high school, we would do drills where we would pretend there was a fire, and we would all line up inside the classroom, but no one was allowed to leave until everyone lined up. And then we would walk in a single file line outside. Like, do teachers really think that if there was a fire, I would wait to get in a single file line and then walk outside? No! The moment I hear that fire alarm beep, I'm sprinting through the first door I can find. It'd be like this. Are the teachers trying to set us up or something? Because if we did what they told us to do during a fire, none of us would make it out. One talks about how different male friendships and female friendships are, because the other day, I told my mom I was going to hang out with one of my friends, so she asked which one, and I said, Marcus. So she was like, "Wait, you and Marcus haven't hung out in like 2 years. I thought you guys weren't friends anymore." And I was like, "No, we're still friends. We just don't need to see each other every day." And she was like, "Yeah, I get that, but it's been 2 years." She literally could not comprehend this, because she was like, "How can you not talk to each other for that long and still be friends?" And I was like, "I don't know, we just pick up right where we left off." Like, there was another time where my mom asked me what my best friend has been up to, and I was like, "I don't know, we haven't talked in like 6 months." So she thought we had beef with each other or something. I was like, "No, he's literally like family. We just don't need to talk every day." I feel like this is normal. You ever notice that the most funny people are always the most sad? And you would never know it, because I had a friend in school who literally could have been a comedian, because he was literally the most funny person I've ever met. And I never saw this guy frown or get upset at school. But one day, I go into the bathroom during class, and I hear someone crying in one of the stalls. So I look at their shoes, and they're green. But I only knew one person who wore green shoes to school, and it was the funny friend. So I wait for him to come out of the stall and then ask him how he's doing. And he knew I saw him crying, so he couldn't lie to me anymore. So he was like, "Honestly, I'm not doing good at all." Apparently his parents were going through a divorce, and it was really hard on him. But literally a couple hours ago, he was making everyone in class laugh. You would have never known what was going on in his personal life. So if you have a funny friend, make sure to check up on him. I hate growing up in Gen Z, because my parents recently found out that I make videos. So my dad was reading my comment section, and he saw a bunch of people commenting, "Oil up, oil up, oil up." So he texted me asking what that phrase meant, and I was like, how do I explain this in a way that someone over the age of 50 will understand? So I just told him it was a sarcastic joke that people say because of the Diddy situation. And I was like, yeah, people say it on everyone's videos, not just mine. Because I didn't want him to think it was weird, but it was a big mistake to tell my dad this, because my mom called me the other day, and she was like, "Yeah, ever since you told your dad what oil up means, he's been walking around the house going, 'Oil up, oil up, oil up.'" But it gets worse, because apparently he's not just doing this around the house, he's saying it in public. What have I done? If you text me and I don't respond right away, just know it's not because I was busy. I definitely saw the text within 3 seconds of you sending it. But in my head, I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll just respond to that later." And then I end up forgetting about it for like 6 days. Like one time, someone texted me asking if I could pick them up from the airport, and I read it right when they sent it. But I forgot to respond for like 4 days. So finally, when I remembered, I texted them saying, "Hey, I can still pick you up if you need me to." And they were like, "Dude, that was 3 days ago." So I was like, "Oh, well, did you at least end up getting a ride home?" And they were like, "No, I had to Uber." I felt so bad. I don't know why I do this, but I can't stop. How do you flirt? Because every time I try to do it, it just feels wrong. And I asked my friend, who seems to be really good at it, and he said what always works for him is to hold eye contact with the girl and mimic her movements. So I was like, okay, I think I can do that. But the next time I was in a situation where I wanted to flirt with a girl, I tried doing the tips he gave me, but I don't think it worked, because the girl was sitting with her hand like this. So I was like, okay, mimic her movement, and I started doing it. But then she looked at me like, "Why are you doing that?" So I put my hand down, and I was like, okay, let's try the eye contact thing. But I focused so much on maintaining eye contact that I looked like I was just staring right through her soul. I was literally like, yeah. Ha. So that definitely was a failure. Like, the only people I actually know how to flirt with is the homies. I can do that all day. Why does British food always look so bad? Because I just saw a video where this British guy was showing off his dinner, and it looked like it came straight out of an easy bake oven. Like, he was naming the food on his plate, and one of them was called black pudding, which looked like a hockey puck. So I already thought it was gross. But then it got even worse, because he was like, "Nah, this is called black pudding, which is made out of pig's blood." It's made out of what? You're choosing to eat pig's blood? I was genuinely concerned that someone was holding this guy captive and forcing him to eat this. But no, most British people choose to eat like this. And I get it. In America, our Fanta looks radioactive and all of our food is super unhealthy. But at least it tastes good. Because don't get me wrong, I love British culture, but when it comes to food, What are they doing over there? It's like they're in a Saw movie, and eating this food is one of the challenges. Oh, and don't even get me started with beans on toast. That has to be a prank. Tipping is getting way out of hand. Cause tell me why the other day, I went to the doctor because I've been having a lot of knee pain recently. And the person at the front desk tells me to go wait in room 4, so I do. And I'm just sitting there alone for like 30 minutes. No one's coming to check on me. But then finally, the doctor walks in, asks what's wrong with me. I tell him it's my knee, and he literally just bends it, asks if that hurts. So I say yes. Then he goes, okay, just put an ice pack on it for 20 minutes every night and don't do any physical activity for the next week. And then you know what he does? He leaves. He was literally with me for 1.5 minutes. Didn't tell me anything useful. So I go to the front desk to pay and I swipe my card, but then the lady at the front desk goes, okay, it's just gonna ask you a quick question real quick. And when I heard that, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Because I know what that phrase means. It means they're about to beg you for a tip. So when she turned that screen around, I slammed no tip as hard as I could. Like this is a doctor's office. You make more than me, dog. I ain't tipping you. And my knee still hurts. Most embarrassing thing you could possibly do at a restaurant is not knowing how to pronounce a dish correctly. Because the first time I ever ate at a Vietnamese restaurant, I saw people at the table next to me eating soup. So I was like, dang, that looks really good. I want to order that. So I look in the soup section of the menu and there was only one option, so I knew it was that one. But when the waiter came and asked what I wanted to eat, with all the confidence in the world, I said, I'll have the pho, please. And he goes, you want the what? And I say, the pho. But he still doesn't understand, so eventually I just point to the thing I'm talking about, and then he just laughs really hard and goes, my friend, it's called pho. I was so embarrassed. I should have just ordered the spring rolls. This is your warning to never get a haircut if a girl tells you not to, because I liked this girl when I was in school, and I was pretty sure she liked me back. But one day, I decided that I wanted to get a buzz cut, so that's what I did. And the next day, I go to school, and I sat right next to this girl. So every day when I'd walk into class, she would look at me, smile, then ask how my day's going. But this time, I walk into class, and we make eye contact for a second, and her smile immediately drops. So I sit down, and during the whole class, she tries her hardest to not look at me. I even asked her a question about the schoolwork, and she just answered without making eye contact with me. So I asked her why she was acting weird, and she said she just didn't expect me to get a haircut. But I knew she thought it was horrible because from this point on, she would never interact with me like she used to. So don't make the same mistake I did. Or do, honestly. It's probably just me because I look like a potato with a buzz cut. Technology is getting so scary these days because tell me why Hawk to a Girl is teaching my class right now.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Talk to a podcast. Today we're diving into one of the most transformative and tumultuous periods in history, the French Revolution.
What? And no, this isn't actually the Hawk to a Girl. It's AI. Like I literally just put a 40-page PDF into this website and it spit out a podcast. And it summarized the reading. But this is terrifying because imagine being the Hawk to a Girl, hearing your own voice on a podcast and being like, I didn't say any of that. And we all know there's some freaky people out there that would use this voice to say weird stuff. So if technology can do this now, just imagine what it's going to be able to do in 5 years. By that time, technology will probably be so advanced that I'll be able to have an AI girlfriend. Wait, maybe it isn't that bad. Why do people have such weird group chat names? Like, I don't think I've ever met a friend group that has a normal one. It's always gotta be something freaky. And I would know because I get added to a lot of random group chats from people that follow me, and they always have the most insane names. Like, tell me why the other day, my phone starts going off a bunch during class, so I check it, and I'm getting texts from 5 Nights at Diddy's. My teacher sees me looking at my phone while she's teaching, so she's like, Tyler, why are you on your phone while I'm teaching? And what am I supposed to say back? Oh, I'm so sorry, Mrs. Smith. I'm just getting a bunch of texts from 5 Nights at Diddy's right now. Please stop adding me to these group chats. If you're ever choking, do not ask me for help. Because last night, I was at dinner with some friends, and the person next to me started choking. So I panicked because I didn't want him to pass away. So I pulled him out of his chair and tried giving him the Heimlich, but I never learned how to do the Heimlich, so I was just trying my best, and eventually, he spit the food out, so I thought he would have been really grateful and thanked me for saving him. But no, instead, he was like, why did you do that? And I was like, what do you mean? I was helping you. And he said, no you weren't. You were basically just punching me in the stomach. So I was like, oh yeah? Well then how did you get the food out, huh? And he said he swallowed part of it, so he was just able to cough the rest of it out. So from now on, I'm saving myself the embarrassment and letting people give themselves the Heimlich if they're choking. I do people record themselves crying because I can't imagine a scenario where I got cheated on or something and my first reaction is, what? She cheated on me? No! Wait, let me record this. No! But I'm not judging people who do this. I'm genuinely just trying to understand why they do it. One time I saw someone crying on their story, so I swiped up and said, why are you crying? And she said she got fired from her job, so I replied saying, I'm sorry to hear that, but why would you record this? And she literally just told me that she records it for attention. My initial reaction was like, wow, that's shallow. But then I thought about it more and I was like, you know what? I respect her for just saying that. She just straight up said, yeah, I do it for attention. That's a good answer. So I'm guessing that's why most people do it, but if there's another reason, someone please tell me. I'm trying to understand. This is your warning to never take your friends to the aquarium. Because I took mine the other day, and it went horrible because one of my friends is a type of guy to do really dumb stuff to make everyone else laugh. And there was a section in the aquarium with a big fish tank, and one of the fish in it kept coming right up to the glass and looking at us. So my friend thought it would be funny to take a selfie with the fish, so that's what he did. But unfortunately, he left the flash on when he took the picture, and I think this did something weird to the fish, because after he took it, the fish started to float vertically like this. But it wasn't moving, it was just floating. So at first we thought the fish just passed away, but then it started to move its tail a little bit, but it was still vertical. So I looked it up, and apparently that's what fish do when they have bladder disease. So I don't know if my friend somehow gave a fish bladder disease with a selfie, but that's the best theory I got. This is your warning to never date someone whose love language is physical touch. Because when a person has this love language, it's nonstop. If you aren't touching them for 1 second, they will think you hate them. You could be holding hands with them walking down the street and then get hit by a car, and they'll still be mad at you because you let go of their hand. I remember one time I went to see a scary movie with this girl, and we were holding hands, but there was a jump scare, so I flinched and accidentally yanked my hand away from her. And for the rest of the movie, I could tell she was angry at me. Like, sorry, I'm terrified of clowns, what do you want me to do? A person with physical touch as their love language could literally be wearing your skin as a jacket, and that still wouldn't be enough. Have you ever taken a lie so far that you just had to stick with it? Because I saw my friend's cat get hit by a car and pass away when we were little kids. Because we lived right next to each other, but he was at baseball practice when this happened, so he didn't know about it. So I just assumed his mom told him about it when he got home that night, but a couple days later, I went over to their house to hang out, and I saw an orange cat inside. So I was like, wait, you got a new cat already? And he goes, what do you mean? We've always had this cat. You know him. But I literally just saw that cat pass away a couple days ago, so I was super confused. But as I looked closer at the cat, something looked a little bit off. So I compared it to a picture in his room of his old cat, and it wasn't the same one. It was really similar, but the lines on his old cat were just a little bit different. So his mom must have just thought that it would be a better idea to get a completely new cat instead of telling him what really happened and breaking his heart. And I never told him this because I didn't feel like it was my place to. So either they literally replaced their old cat without telling him, or I just saw the first ghost cat ever. What you say and what your parents hear are two very different things. Because one time, my dad asked me why I've never had a girlfriend before, and I was like, to be honest, Dad, I just haven't found a girl that I can see myself spending the rest of my life with yet. But when I said this, he took a big breath, and then he was like, son, you're 20 years old. Just be honest with me. Do you even like girls? I didn't even know how to respond, but my mom does this too, because I remember when I was struggling in school, I told my mom I was gonna stay after class because a girl was gonna tutor me, and she was like, okay, Tyler, but don't do anything with this girl that you'll regret in the future. I'm too young to be a grandma already. Well, considering the fact that my tutor is about 60 years old, I don't think you have anything to worry about, Mom. But either way, why is that the first thing that came to her mind? How do you tell people bad news? Because I can't do it. I always either laugh or just say it way too casually. Like I remember when someone in my friend group passed away, I was with some of our other friends. And I guess I must have been the first one to find out because I got a phone call, and after I hung up, my friends were like, oh, what's up? And I was like, oh, Jameson passed away. But none of them believed me because of how calm I sounded, so I literally had to convince them. I was like, no, I'm serious. And I don't know why I said it like that, like I was genuinely devastated. I just think something is wrong with me because when my dog passed away, I went to school the next day and I obviously looked super sad, so people asked me what was wrong, and I literally just giggled. Like, what is wrong with me? This is your warning to never eat past midnight. Because one time, my friends and I were at an amusement park at 1 a.m., but it closed, so we had to leave, and unfortunately, all of our phones were dead, so we had no way of getting a ride back home because we Ubered there. And it was really cold, so we were like, okay, let's just find a place to sit indoors and figure this out. But there was only one place open, which happened to be IHOP. So we walk inside IHOP, and we're the only ones there, and as the waitress walks us to our table, my friend thought it would be funny to take a piece of bacon someone left over on their plate and eat it. Sadly, the waitress saw him do this, and she didn't think it was funny at all, so she kicked us right back into the cold, where we had to sit there freezing. We tried finding another place to go, but they were all closed. So how did we get home, you ask? Well, one of the IHOP workers saw us sitting outside, and he drove us home for 50 bucks. To be honest, he may actually not have even worked there. I don't know. Nobody talks about how scary it is when your friend doesn't change their personality around your parents. Because there's this kid at my school that I really liked hanging out with, but he liked to make really inappropriate jokes. And one day, we decided to hang out at my house for the first time. But when we get there, I introduced him to my parents, and I expect him to act like a normal human being and say something like, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Vitelli. Thank you for letting me come over. But instead, the first thing that comes out of his mouth when he sees my parents is, oh, so you guys are the ones that created Tyler in the bedroom. Why would you say that? It's like you want my parents to spank me with the belt. But the worst part was that after he said this, you could tell by the look on his face that he didn't regret it. So I was like, oh no, it's gonna get worse. So I just pretended that one of our other friends texted us asking to hang out so we could leave the house. So from that point on, I learned to never bring that man around my parents again. Why do people give out such bad Halloween candy? Because when I was younger, I had to stop trick-or-treating in my own neighborhood because the type of candy that my neighbors give out would make you think that they hated the trick-or-treaters. Like I remember this one neighbor I had lived in a super nice house, so we all thought they would give out really good candy. But no, you know what they gave us? toothbrushes. What crime did we commit to deserve that? You're a rich family and you give out toothbrushes? All they had to do was give us something good like these King's Hawaiian pretzel bites. These would be the perfect things to give out for Halloween because they're sweet and salty, so you know the kids will like them, and they're super versatile, so you can eat them while you're trick-or-treating. You could even use this container as a bowl and mix it with other Halloween candies. So if you're handing something out this Halloween, please let it be something good like this and not toothbrush. This is your warning to never stay at a one-star hotel. Because my friends and I needed a place to stay last night, so we booked the only hotel in the area. And right when we got there, you could tell the place was pretty old, but I was like, it can't be that bad. Until I walk inside to book a room, and the worker at the front desk was like, what do you want? So I said, to book a room? Like, why else would I be here? But after I said that, he made me sign like 10 different papers. So I was super confused because I'm just trying to get a hotel room, not get married. Why do I need to sign all of this? And he said, these are all waivers. What? But then he gave me the key, so I walk into my room, pull the covers off the bed because I wanted to lay down, but what do I see? A brown stain on the sheets! Now, I don't know if it was chocolate or something else, but either way, I was scared to go near it, but also at the same time, I didn't want to sleep on the ground there, so I ended up sleeping on the bed, and I woke up really early, but my arm was super itchy, so I look at it, and I had a bite mark. When I saw this, I got out of the hotel as fast as I could. Nobody talks about how scary it is when your sibling starts being nice to you because there's only two reasons they ever will be. Either they did something really bad or they want your help. Like when my brother and I were younger, one day he came into my room and he was like, hey, I'm going to McDonald's. Do you want anything? So I was like, you never ask me if I want anything to eat. What's wrong with you today? But he insisted there was nothing wrong, and I almost believed him until later that day. He asked me to come outside, so I do, and I see that there's a huge dent in our dad's car. Our father wasn't home yet, so he didn't see it, but my brother was like, can you please say you made the dent? You're the youngest, so dad won't get as mad if you say you did it. And I was like, listen, it doesn't matter if Casper the Ghost made that dent. Either way, whoever did it is gonna get punished. So I said I will absolutely not take the blame for you. And then when our dad got home that night, let's just say there was a lot of tears in that house. Why do people get sad when they see an old person eating alone? Like I saw a video where a girl was literally crying because she was at a restaurant and she saw an 80-year-old man eating soup alone. But in the video, he didn't even look sad. He was chilling. Yet the girl was bawling her eyes out. You know what probably made the guy sad though? Getting recorded by a random person while he's trying to eat. Like, just leave him alone. Cause I don't know about you, but I look forward to my alone time. You're out here crying. Meanwhile, he's probably thinking, finally, some peace and quiet. Just let the man eat his soup with his dentures. When I get older, if I ever see someone trying to record me while I'm eating, I'm going to bite them. Have you ever met a couple that everyone thinks should break up, but they just don't? Because there was this couple I knew who got into a huge argument one time because the girl really wanted her boyfriend to buy her a dairy ring, which is a ring that you can only get for one person ever, and it requires your ID to purchase. So if you buy it for this one person, they better be special. But the guy kept refusing to buy the dairy ring, saying that it was a huge decision and that it should be used for an engagement ring. He thought he should only buy it when he was ready to propose. He also kept making excuses that they've been together for a long time and that he's trying to save money for their future, so now wasn't a good time. After this happened, the girl started to think that since he didn't want to buy her the ring, he wasn't serious about the relationship. This led to a huge argument, and from that point on, their relationship was never the same. So I don't know if he just didn't want to buy it because of the purchase rules or if he wasn't ready to propose to her, but either way, they should not be together anymore. This is your warning to never forget to lock your doors when you go to bed at night. Because the other day, I was laying down around 1 a.m. and I thought I heard a sound in the living room. But that didn't make any sense because no one else was home. So I was like, whatever, it's probably nothing. But then I hear another noise and it's even louder. So I'm like, okay, something's definitely out there. But I'm not Batman. I don't want to go out there if someone dangerous broke into my house. So I stay in bed and pull my blanket up to protect myself. But then a couple minutes later, I get a notification that something was moving in my backyard. So I look at the camera and you know what I see? A skunk just walking around. Apparently, I must have forgot to shut the doggy door in our backyard and the skunk went through it into our house looking for food. I'm glad I never left my room to see what was out there though, because I ain't beating a skunk in a fight. That thing would probably just fart on me and I'd cry. Growing up ugly is crazy because now whenever people flirt with me, I don't trust it. Because when I was a little kid, I got asked out by this girl, but her whole friend group was there when she did it. So I was like, oh sick, a girl likes me? Heck yeah, I'll go out with you. But right after I said yes, she went, just kidding, and her whole friend group laughed. So from this point on, I had my guard up anytime a girl interacted with me. But then when I got to high school, I was kind of shy, but this one girl would always go out of her way to have conversations with me. And she would laugh at almost everything I said, even when it wasn't funny. So I was like, okay, what trick is this girl trying to pull on me? But then one day, this guy in our class was like, dude, why don't you ask her out? And I said, what are you talking about? Then he was like, well, she clearly likes you. So I was like, oh, I see what's going on here. You guys are pulling a prank on me. So I just stopped talking to her completely so I wouldn't get embarrassed. But then last week, I randomly saw her and she was like, yeah, I totally had a crush on you in high school. But it's too late now because she's engaged and I still have nothing. Men's intuition is so annoying because it's never wrong. They'll know things that they have no reason to know. Like there was this one creator that I used to love watching and he was super nice. So I showed this girl in my class one of his videos, but immediately within 20 seconds of watching, she goes, no. And I was like, what do you mean no? And she goes, something's just off about him. I don't like it. And I was like, you only watched him for 20 seconds. And she just said, I can't explain it, but I know something's not right about him. But at the time when she said this, I didn't know the power of women's intuition, so I was just like, yeah, right, you're just being a hater. But literally 2 months later, it comes out that this exact creator, who I thought was the best, most nice guy in the world, was a cannibal! This man was eating people! And you never would have known it because he seemed so normal online, but somehow this girl with her spidey senses just felt it. What other superpowers are you girls not telling us about? This is your warning to never sleep over at my house. Because last time one of my friends did, we were trying to stay up all night, so we bought energy drinks. But what he didn't know is that caffeine does not affect me for some reason. So around 2 a.m., I got really tired and ended up falling asleep. But the next morning, when I woke up, I heard a noise that sounded like a pig in my room. So I looked to my left, and I see my friend laying there on the floor snoring. But the worst part is, he didn't have a blanket, pillow, nothing. Because I was so tired that I fell asleep without remembering to get him any of that. I felt so bad because I thought he must have been super uncomfortable. But that night, we ordered a pizza. So you know what he did? He used the pizza box as a blanket. I thought about waking him up to give him a pillow or something, but honestly, he looked like he was having the best sleep of his life. He was drooling and everything. He was sleeping better than I do on my memory foam mattress. Maybe we all need to try sleeping with the pizza box. What would you do if random things started disappearing around you? Because I'm at Dave & Buster's and something weird is going on here. So I was pretty hungry when I got here and I tried to order some mozzarella sticks, but they were like, sorry, we don't have any. So I was like, oh, are you guys sold out or something? And they were like, no, they just disappeared this morning. But I didn't think anything more of it until I went to the Win store to go pick out a prize with my tickets. And I knew exactly what prize I wanted. So I went up to the worker and asked for it, but they said they didn't have it again. And they told me it just disappeared. So I was like, okay, something's going on here. So I need you guys to help me figure out what's really going on here by going to Dave & Buster's social media profiles because they're giving hints every 48 hours in October to figure out the truth behind all of this. So let's solve it together. You ever had a friend that's down for literally anything? Like it could range from going to Walmart to hiking Mount Everest, and they'd be down. And that's not even an exaggeration because one time my friend asked me what my plans were for the day, and I was like, oh, actually, I'm leaving school early today because I have a funeral to go to. But then he said, I'm down. And I was like, what? Then he goes, I'm down to go with you. When should I be ready? So this man just came to the funeral with me for someone that he's never even met. But trust me, it gets weirder because I've had doctor's appointments before where this man would just beg to come with me. I don't even want to go to the appointment. Why do you want to come? The doctor walks into the office and he's like, oh, is this your legal guardian? And I'm like, no, this is just my homie Greg. I'm just scared for the day when he asks to go to the bathroom with. The worst type of friend to have is the one that can't take the hint when you want them to leave. Because one time, my friend came over to my house the night before I had to get my wisdom teeth removed. So I wanted to make sure I could get good sleep that night. But around 10 p.m., I felt like going to sleep. So I said to my friend, damn, it's getting pretty late. But he goes, not really, it's only 10. Then I was like, yeah, but I have to wake up early, so it's pretty late for me. But then he goes, oh yeah, I guess so. And that's all he says, so I'm like, dang, I'm gonna have to get creative because he is not taking the hint. But we didn't have dinner that night, so I said to him, you're probably pretty hungry, huh? And he goes, yeah, can we eat something? And I go, nah, sorry, my doctor said I'm not allowed to eat the night before surgery. You should probably just get something on your way home. But he responds by saying, oh no, it's okay. I'll just order food to the house. So finally, I just gave up. And as he was ordering food, I was like, Landon, get out of my house! And I learned at that moment to never invite him over at night or else he'll never leave. Nobody talks about how fun it is to help your friend get over a breakup. Because last year, this girl broke up with my friend and the day after the breakup, he texts me and a couple other guys and says that he wants to hang out. So we go to his house and he says, come on, get in the car. So I ask where we're going and he says to the barber. But this guy has hair that goes down to his shoulders, so he never gets haircuts. And without telling us, he gets a mohawk with green spikes. He asks us how it looks, and we say it looks awful, so he's like, great, that's exactly what I was going for. But then the whole drive home, he just had his music on in the car full blast, and he literally sticked his head out the window and was screaming the lyrics. He definitely swallowed like 5 flies, but hey, everyone gets over breakups in their own way. This is your warning to never set an alarm to wake yourself up for school. Because the other night, I set an alarm for the first time because my mom used to just wake me up every day. So I never had to do it. But I don't live with her anymore, so I set an alarm for 7 o'clock. Then I went straight to bed. But the next morning, I wake up and I'm like, wow, my alarm didn't go off yet? I feel like I've been sleeping forever. But then I checked the time on my phone and it turns out I was. Because it was 10:30. So I opened the alarm app on my phone to see why it didn't go off. And it turns out I set the alarm for 7 p.m. not 7 a.m. I literally missed my whole class because of this. I mean, luckily it was just a communications class, so who really cares? But still, I can't trust that alarm anymore. Why do girls always have health problems? But not serious issues. It's always minor things. Like, every girl I've ever met either always has a headache, stomach ache, or is super tired. And that's not even an exaggeration because there was this girl in my class, and on the first day of school, she had a really deep voice, so I was like, oh dang, she must have been screaming at a concert last night or something. But then after about 6 weeks, her voice still sounded like this, so I finally asked her why, and she said it's because she's sick, but I was like, wait, you've sounded like this for 6 weeks. And she went, yeah, that's how long I've been sick. You've been sick for 6 weeks? What are you sick with? The bubonic plague? But she was just like, oh, no, this is normal for me. Normal? You mean you just live like this? But it's not just her. Every girl I've ever talked to is like this. Now, I've only ever talked to like 3 girls in general, but still, they need to find a cure for this. Nobody talks about how hard it is to grow up with attractive parents. Because I went to school with a kid whose mom literally used to be a model, so he had to fight for his life every day in class. Like we had a day called Muffins with Mom, where everyone would bring their mom to school and eat muffins with them. But when everyone saw this kid's mom, you would have thought she was Beyonce the way everyone was running up to her. Like these kids were flirting with her in the craziest ways. I remember I heard one kid say to her, "I may be young, but I'm experienced." That was the moment where I actually started to feel bad for him. Because imagine your friends saying stuff like this to your mother. And after this day, everyone would ask him if he wanted to hang out. But when he would say yes, they would always be like, "Okay, great, but we have to hang out at your house." And they literally just said this because they wanted to get a chance to see his mom. I don't blame them though. I had a crush on his mom too. What would you do if you crashed during your driver's test? Because you'll never believe what happened during mine. Because when I was taking my test, the person that was in the car with me that decided whether I passed or failed wasn't even paying attention to my driving. They just cared more about what was going on outside of the car. Like she literally saw a guy making elotes and she was like, "Ooh, we should stop for an elote." Just kidding. And you know, my response was like, because I'm sucking up to her hoping that it'll help me pass my test. But then she sees a skunk on the ground across the street and she's like, "Oh my gosh, look at the skunk." But I wasn't sure if she was trying to trick me to see if I would keep my eyes on the road or not, so I just didn't look. But then we finished the test and she says, "Congratulations, you got a perfect score." Don't get me wrong, I was happy I passed, but dog, I did not deserve a perfect score. I almost hit a pedestrian. I didn't stop fully at a stop sign. Like if I ran someone over, would she even have noticed? Or cared? Whoever's responsible for passing all these people, please make it harder to pass because no one knows how to drive. Probably even professors in college do not care compared to high school teachers. Because this one time in high school, I asked my teacher if I could use my phone to take notes. Like this is all it is. It literally just listens to your professor and uses AI to take notes. What harm can it do? But instead of saying yes, she took my phone away and used me as an excuse to give a 5-minute speech about how AI is bad for the world and it's taking over all our jobs. So from then on, I just stopped asking my teachers for permission and I just used the app without them knowing. But then last month in college during the Olympics, my history professor tells us that we should use this app called TurboLearn to take notes in case we want to watch the Olympics on our laptop while he's teaching. So that way, we wouldn't miss anything because we could just look back at what he taught us in our notes. Why can't high school teachers be more like this? How do people like alcohol? Because I feel like everyone who tells me that it's good is lying. And I'm not trying to be one of those people who are like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so much better than you because I don't drink." Dog, I don't care what you do. I just genuinely don't like it. Every alcohol I've ever tried tastes like air freshener to me. But you know how I'm sure that it's not just me who thinks this? Whenever I see people drink, this is their reaction. Cheers. But then you ask them how it tastes and they're like, "Oh, it's great." Like, that does not look like you're enjoying it. What am I missing? I feel like it's a lie that everyone but me is in. How do people find partners for relationships? Because it feels like if you don't have someone at your work or at your school that you like, you're cooked. Then people will say, "Oh, well, try dating apps." No! I would rather lick a homeless man's foot because dating apps just seem so awkward to me. Like you meet a stranger online and you both know that the other person is incredibly down bad or else you wouldn't be on the app in the first place. And then you're supposed to somehow form a connection with them? Dog, I can't even form connections with people normally. So there's no way I could do it like that. So I asked a really wise adult I know. Well, I guess I'm an adult too, but oh my gosh, I'm an adult. But anyways, I asked this adult where he found his significant other because he always gives really good advice. And he says, "Rehab." And that's it. I give up. I'm never finding any. This is your warning to never make fun of old people. Because one time, I wanted to go to a Drake concert, so I asked my mom if she could buy me tickets, but she didn't know who Drake was. So I showed her his social media pages, and after I did, she was like, "Oh, so you know him? Well, why don't you just text him and ask him for tickets?" "Oh yeah, Mom, let me just send a text to my boy Drake real quick." Why didn't I think of that? But this terrified me because I realized one day, we're all gonna be like this. Soon, kids are gonna make fun of us for not knowing how to use technology and not knowing what certain words mean. Actually, it's already happening because for the past year, I've been trying to figure out what the word skibbity means, and I still don't know. I can't believe I just said that word out loud. What would you do if an old lady tried to scam you? Because that's what happened to me today. So I was at Walmart today. Yes, I shop at Walmart, haha. But anyways, I'm walking through the baby aisle because it's a shortcut to the spot I'm trying to get to, and there's a lady there looking really sad. But then she makes eye contact with me and she says, "Excuse me?" And I say, "Yes?" And she goes, "I can't afford this baby formula, but I really need it for my son, and he doesn't have a dad to buy it. Can you help me out?" Also, remember the part where she said the baby doesn't have a dad. So I'm thinking, baby formula can't be that expensive. Sure, I'll buy it for you. So her mood changes now, and she's really happy and appreciative, and she says thank you like 50 times. So we walk over to the register, and she has this like tote bag with her, and all of a sudden, she pulls out like 7 more tubs of baby formula. And we're at self-checkout, so she's just scanning it like beep, 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 as fast as she can. But I look at the final price, and it's over $450. I was down to help out this poor lady and spend like 30 or 40 bucks on some formula. But when she started pulling out the other tubs, that's when I started to question her. So I go, "Ma'am, I don't think I can afford all of this. I'm sorry." And she goes, "But you said you were gonna help me. My son needs this." And I go, where is your son right now? This is where she messed up because she said, his dad is watching him. Wait, didn't you say that your son doesn't have a dad? So I tell her this and she just starts malfunctioning going, So I tell her that I'm not gonna buy the baby formula for her. But then she starts fake crying and I'm trying to hold back my laughter because I'm like, girl, this ain't no dick. This is your warning to never go to a restaurant with me because when I go out, I never try anything new. I literally get the exact same thing every time. But it's not just at restaurants. When I'm at home too, I only eat like 2 things. And one of them is these King's Hawaiian soft pretzel bites. I love them because they're sweet and salty, super soft and convenient. I eat these at home and when I'm on the go. My favorite thing about them is that I can take them anywhere, and a secret I'll give you is to toast them. So why would I try something new when I already know the food that I actually like? Because if I try something new and don't like it, then I'll just wish I ate my normal food. So that's why I'm just gonna stick to eating these pretzel bites. A girl will never admit if she likes you. Instead, she'll just start doing really weird things when she's around you. And I know this because there was this girl that I sat next to in school, and every day during class, she would kick me. And it wasn't just a light tap. No, she was going full force like Ronaldo on a free kick. But that wasn't the only weird thing she did. She would also call me dog, which I have no problem with. But this 5'2" blonde girl with a soft voice did not look like the type of person that goes around saying, "What's up, dog?" So when she did this, I was just thinking like, is this girl okay? But then after about a year, we weren't in the same class anymore, and I asked her why she did these things, and she was like, oh, it's because I had a crush on you. And I was like, no you didn't. You wouldn't have kicked me all the time if you did. And she was like, that was literally my way of saying that I liked you. Well, how was I supposed to know that? Do girls just flirt by hurting you? From my understanding, if I ever get punched in the face by a girl, I should just ask her out immediately. Why are mukbangs getting so out of control? Because before, mukbangs would just be someone eating a burrito from Chipotle. But now, they're eating the whole damn building. And then they take it a step further and get a big old sized cup of cane sauce and queso and pour it on the burrito. Like, you know cane sauce ain't making that burrito taste better. You're just doing it for the shock factor. I genuinely can't remember the last time I saw a normal mukbang where they just eat a regular sized meal. At this point, it would be refreshing to see something like that where they just eat a piece of salmon and some asparagus. Oh, and don't even get me started on the crumble cookie videos. Why are you guys there at 8 a.m. on a Monday morning eating 6,000 calories worth of cookies? The bills cannot be that high. You can always tell when someone grew up with strict parents because I had this friend when I was younger, and the first time he came over to my house, we went into my room to play video games, and after he walked in, I asked him to shut the door, but he looked at me as if I just asked him if he wanted to rob a bank, and then he was like, you can do that? So I was like, yeah, of course. That's what doors do. They shut. Then he was like, no, but I mean your parents won't get mad if you shut the door? Then he said something that was hilarious, but also really sad at the same time, which was, last time I tried shutting my bedroom door, my parents got so angry that they took the door out of the wall, and now I don't have one anymore. Then he showed me a picture of his room, and he literally doesn't have a door anymore. But the worst part was my mom heard him say this, so she used this as a reason to be like, see Tyler, aren't I such a cool parent for letting you have a door? And I was like, I think that's pretty normal, Mom, but yes. You are the best. This is your warning to never go to a Gen Z dentist because I just did and it did not end well. So my dentist was a girl and she was around my age and she was gorgeous. So when she saw me, she said, hi, are you Tyler? And I'm like, oh, she knows my name. But then she goes, I'm gonna be your dental hygienist today. My name's Isabella. And at this point, I'm in love with Isabella. I've already planned our future together. But then I was like, wait, you're my dentist? That's so embarrassing. I don't want you seeing my teeth like that. But I have no choice. So she tells me that I can sit down in the chair and I do. And then she says, all right, now open up. And I'm like, okay, fine. I love you. And she goes, no, not that kind of open up. I mean, open your mouth. No, I'm kidding. That part did not happen. But what did happen is she worked on my teeth and she did a great job. But after she was done, I knew I had no chance with her because this is what she saw for an hour straight. I just know I gave her the ick. Just give me the 80-year-old dentist next time. Nobody talks about how hard it is to be in a friend group where everyone is indecisive. Because my friends and I rarely ever hang out. Because anytime we try to, this is how the conversation goes. You guys want to go somewhere tonight? Yeah, I'm down. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? Doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do. Okay. Looks like we're doing nothing. But the worst part about everyone being indecisive is that I would ask my mom if I could go hang out with my friends, and she'd be like, what are you guys gonna do? And I'd be like, I don't know, we haven't decided yet. Then she'd be like, well, who's gonna go? And I'd say, I don't know. Then she'd say, how are you guys gonna hang out when you don't know where you're going or who's going? And I just have to be like, I have no idea, Mom. I don't know either. We may never hang out again. Male friendships and female friendships are so different because just the other day, my friend that's a guy got a phone call. So I was like, who's it from? And he says, oh, it's my grandma. I have to take this. So he answers the phone. And out of nowhere, he just starts speaking German. So eventually he finishes the call and then I was like, since when were you bilingual? And he goes, I've always been bilingual. I grew up in Germany until I was 6 years old. What? Dog, I thought you were from Bakersfield. And it's not like I barely know this guy. I consider him one of my best friends. Somehow I just wasn't aware of this. But girls will literally know more about their friends than they know about themselves. Like this girl in my class was trying to buy clothes online and the website asked for her waist size and she was like, I don't know my waist size. And immediately her friend just goes, your waist is 28 inches. She didn't even know what size she was. How do you know it? What kind of telekinesis was that? Like, how does that work? I don't get it. I'm never bringing my friend around a deaf person again because last time I did, it went horrible. So I've been learning sign language recently. And the other day, I was at dinner with my friend and I saw a stranger speaking in sign language. So I was like, oh, let me go try to have a conversation with them because I always like to practice. And I quickly realized that this person was fully deaf. He couldn't hear anything. So we were signing to each other. But then my friend walks over next to me and says, oh, who's this? And he says that to the deaf guy. And I'm like, oh, he can't hear you. He's deaf. So surely after I told my friend this, he would just wave to him or something like that, right? Wrong. Instead, my friend just spoke louder and he was like, oh, he's deaf? Okay, cool. What's your name? And this guy may have been deaf, but he wasn't born yesterday, so he could see what my friend was doing, and he just gave him a really confused look back. So I just tried acting like I didn't even know who my friend was, and I was like, I can't bring my friends anywhere, man. Well, people really need to stop trying to relate to Gen Z so hard. Because I was just at school, and in one of my classes, I sit right next to my friend. So we talk a lot, but we must have been talking a little too much today because during our conversation, the teacher stops the lesson, and then he goes, Tyler, Aaron, stop yapping so much. I'm trying to teach. And I kind of had to think about what he just said to actually understand it because I have never heard the word yapping come out of a 65-year-old man's mouth before. But it gets more funny because later during that class, someone was eating a donut, and the teacher saw it, and he goes, are you glazing that donut? And the kid says, what? Then the teacher was like, never mind. So I'm pretty sure he tried learning the word glazing too, but I don't think he understands that one yet. So my theory is that this man has a grandkid or something that's teaching him all these words and he's trying to use them to sound cool. There's no other explanation. Nobody talks about how different guys act when they're in front of girls. Cause I had this friend that lived in a different state, so I never met his girlfriend until I went to visit him. And before this, he was always really nice and he was never the type of guy to make a joke about you. But when his girl was there, all of a sudden, it felt like I was at my own roast session. Like my shoes were a little bit dirty, so he was like, bro, you just come back from the coal mines or what? And then he would look directly at his girl to see if she laughed. And I know some people might say, oh, he's just making some friendly jokes. You're right, but that's not the only thing he did because we were walking home from dinner that night and we were on the sidewalk and you know what he did? He pushed me straight into a bush. Like, bro, she's already your girlfriend. You don't gotta cook me so much just to impress her. She already likes you. Now I'm walking back home with an allergic reaction just because you wanted to impress a female. I have not, dude. Anyone that's ever wondered why girls all go to the bathroom together, I think I figured it out. Because the other day, I was at a restaurant, but I had to go number 2 really bad. So I quickly ran into the bathroom and went into a stall, but when I was on the toilet, I heard a group of people walk in and I didn't think anything of it at first until I heard them speak because they sounded a lot like girls. So I looked under the stall and that's when I realized I ran into the women's restroom instead of the men's. So I just stayed as quiet as possible hoping that no one would notice me. But while I was in there, I heard this sound go off like 100 times. And the flash was going off like every second in there. It felt like a club. So I realized this group of girls was having a full-on photo shoot in the bathroom. But the worst part was I was waiting till they left to get out of the stall because I didn't want them to see me in the women's restroom. But they stayed in there for so long taking pictures that I just had to sit in the stall for like an hour. Okay, it wasn't that long, but it felt like it. I'm not even joking, I almost fell in the toilet. I'm still sore from sitting on that thing so long. NZ slang is so crazy because I was talking to this older man at the airport and he was telling me about how back when he was younger, his mom was in a cult. But because of the generation that I've grown up in, for some reason, I thought he meant cult as in being like a really loyal fan to an artist or an actor. Like Playboy Cardi, Lana Del Rey, you know what I mean? I wasn't thinking an actual cult. So I was like, oh, that's cool. What cult was she in? And with a straight face, he goes, Charles Manson's cult. So I laughed because I thought he was joking, but he didn't smile at all. So I was like, oh, you're serious? And he goes, yep, she's still in prison. But the reason I laughed is because I totally forgot that cults were like an actual thing. Because these days, Gen Z will call anything a cult. Like if you happen to really like frozen yogurt, they'll probably say you're in the Froyo cult. So that was the type of stuff I thought he was talking about when he said cult, not the stuff that the Manson family was doing. I gotta go outside more, man. My brain is cooked. You ever liked someone so much that you would purposely go out of your way just to do them favors? Because I took this to the extreme one time when I liked a girl and we had a class together, but she could never keep up with taking the notes. So she'd always ask me to share mine with her, and I never had this problem because I would just use this app that listens to your professor and takes notes. So I thought about sharing this with her to help her, but then I was like, wait, I have a better idea. I'll just not tell her about it, so then she has to keep asking me for my notes. I thought this was a great idea because it gave her a reason to have to talk to me every day. And it honestly worked really well. She would come up to me after every class and be like, oh my gosh, Tyler, I love your notes. Can I use them? And I'd be like, yeah, thanks, I worked hard on them. Wanna marry me? One day she saw me using the app and she asked me what it was. So I had to tell her the truth about how TurboLearn records lectures for you and makes notes on it. And she got so mad at me for pretending that I was the one taking the notes that my chances were gone. But the worst part is, she dated my friend a month later. can always tell from the moment you meet someone if they're gonna be your friend forever or not. Because you know how when you first meet someone, you don't show them your whole personality because you don't want them to think you're weird. But when it's someone that's your best friend, you don't have to do that. Because the first day that my best friend and I met, instead of asking me what my hobbies are or where I'm from, the first thing that comes out of his mouth is telling me about how he has a really bad rash. And then he asks me if I ever get rashes. And usually around a person I don't know, I wouldn't answer that question. But around him, I felt comfortable enough to be like, yeah man, I get rashes all the time. And I just realized I've now told everyone on the internet that. But anyways, the first day we met, this guy was moaning in my ear because he thought it was funny. If someone else did that, I'd probably get a restraining order, but not around him. Because when you're with someone that's gonna be your best friend, nothing is uncomfortable with them. Well, except for their rashes. Well, people will drop the most insane lore on you and then act like it's nothing. Because one day at school, I was eating a banana in class, and my teacher that's from Europe sees this, and he goes, how's the banana? And I say, it's good. You want a piece of it? And he responds by saying how he's not supposed to have bananas for the rest of his life. So I'm like, oh, are you allergic to them? And he says no. So I go, oh, well, then why aren't you supposed to eat them? And he gives me an insane response, which was, well, when I was younger, I lived by Chernobyl when the power plant exploded, and I was exposed to so much radiation, which had a bunch of potassium in it, so I'm never supposed to have bananas again. And for anyone who doesn't know, Chernobyl was a nuclear power plant that exploded, making the whole area around it radioactive. This was like a huge thing, and somehow my teacher was there for it, and he just casually brought it up like it was no big deal. Does every old person just have crazy lore? The worst part about growing up is the fact that you can't order the things you really want to eat when you go out. Because the other night, I was at a restaurant I've never been to with some people that I work with. So we're not super close, and I don't want to do anything to embarrass myself in front of them. And the waitress gives me the menu, but nothing on it really looks that good until I turn to the very back page and I see chicken tenders on it. Everything else on the menu was a bunch of fancy foods that I couldn't even pronounce. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely getting the tenders. But then I look at the top of that page, and it says that the chicken tenders are on the kids menu. So now I'm thinking, well dang, I can't order off the kids menu in front of these people that I don't even really know, because they'll think I'm like an immature little kid. So I just ended up ordering the ratatouille. Dog, I didn't even know that was a real dish. I just thought it was the movie about the rat that cooks. Turns out this whole time, it's actually a dish that has a bunch of vegetables in it. I'm tired of having to order food like this. I just want to go back to ordering Happy Meals with a toy. No one talks about how difficult it is to be friends with people who vape, because the moment they lose their vape, it's over. They will become a different person. They'll start growling at you, barking, anything. A person trying to find their vape will tear through your house worse than an untrained puppy. But the most hard thing about being friends with people who vape is you can't tell them anything serious. And what I mean by that is I used to have a friend who vaped, but every time I would be having a serious conversation with him, I would be like, yeah, I don't think my grandma's gonna make it much longer. I think we're gonna have to take her off life support soon. But in the middle of me saying this, you could see them not be able to concentrate anymore because they're just trying so hard to not take a hit of their vape while I'm speaking. Like, dog, you can't even wait 10 seconds to hit that before you start shaking? I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to just break someone's vape. It's so bad. Have you ever had someone literally steal your personality? Because my friend passed away a couple years ago when I was in school, and at his funeral, everyone got a bracelet to honor him. So I wore it every day, never took it off. But one day, I saw this guy that goes to my school, and he would always buy the same clothes as me, which is crazy because I do not have a good sense of fashion. And I always thought it was kind of weird, but I was like, whatever, it's probably just a coincidence. Until he shows up to school with the exact same bracelet we got at the funeral. And you may say, oh, well, did he know the friend that passed away? No! This man has never talked to him in his life. And he definitely was not at the funeral. Yet somehow, he got the bracelet. So I don't know where he possibly could have got it, but I know he had to do some research to find it. So from that point on, I tried to avoid him because I didn't know what he was gonna steal next. And this is the reason why I became a D1 gatekeeper. How can people be in relationships with big age differences? Like, what do you even talk about? Because the other day, I was at dinner and there was a couple at the table next to me, and the man was probably about 65 years old while the girl was like 25. So I wanted to be nosy and listen to their conversations to see what they talk about, but I couldn't because they literally did not talk. And when they did talk, it was just the man saying something like, my bladder's so weak these days. Like, you know that girl don't want to talk about that, and she definitely can't relate to it. She's fresh out of college. She'd probably rather talk about what Taylor Swift wore to the Met Gala or something. And people might say, oh, well, how do you know that was his girlfriend and not his daughter? Well, I saw them kiss each other. So I really hope it wasn't his daughter. But while I saw them doing that, they both looked so uncomfortable. And I'm not judging anyone that has a big age gap. I just genuinely don't understand how you do it. You ever had a friend that just can't spell anything over text? Because there was this girl I was talking to, but she thought I didn't like her back because we would text and I would be like, hey, do you want to hang out? And she would respond with a sentence that would literally take me 20 minutes to read because she didn't spell anything correctly. So sometimes I just wouldn't respond because I didn't know what it said. And eventually she was like, why don't you ever respond to my texts? I don't know. Maybe it's because I can't read them. Like, I have a better chance of understanding someone speaking Japanese than understanding her text. And I don't speak Japanese. How do you expect me to read the word gorgeous when you spell it with 4 E's and an I? Like, at least give me a chance. This is your warning to never eat in front of a vegan. Because I knew this girl who was super vegan. Like, anytime she ever saw me eating meat, she would be like, you shouldn't eat that. But then the other day, I see her eating mozzarella sticks. So I give her a confused look and she's like, why are you looking at me? And I say, do you know what you're eating? And she goes, yeah, mozzarella sticks. So I go, okay, but aren't you not allowed to eat that? And she says, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you're eating cheese. And she goes, what? This doesn't have cheese in it. And I say, yes, it does. It's literally in the name, mozzarella stick. And she goes, wait, are you serious? I didn't know mozzarella was cheese. I just thought it was the name of the person who created it. So she started freaking out and she threw away the rest of her mozzarella sticks, which kind of made me sad because they looked really good. But I'm just glad because now if she ever tries to get mad at me again for eating meat, I'm just gonna respond by saying, girl, I know the mozzarella enthusiast ain't talking.
কি হয়েছে বলতো? আর বলিস না, তোরে যে বুকিং দিছে সে তখন আমার পিছনে লাগছে।
দিশান আমার দরজা লাগিয়ে দিচ্ছে। আমার দরজা লাগিয়ে দিচ্ছে। কই যায়? কই যা?
আমরা তো বিয়েই দিয়ে দিবে বাসা থেকে।
মাম্মা লাভ স্টোরি তো শুরু করে দিলা। ভালো ভালো ভালো। মালটারে কি পড়ানো যায়?
তুই একটা কাম কর, আজকে থেকে আমি তোমার, তুমি আমার, ব্যাস ডিসিশন ফাইনাল, বুকিং দিয়ে রাখলাম। ঠিক আছে? কি খবর তোমাদের, কেমন আছো তোমরা সবাই? ভালো তো না? তুমি জানো তোমায় কালকে তো কতবার কল দিচ্ছি।
হ্যালো, আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
ওয়ালাইকুম আসসালাম। কি রে হৃদয় রেন মানা করতেছি কিছু মানে কিছু আগে আপনি জানেন আমি একবার অসুস্থ হয়ে গেছিলাম, ও আমাকে রক্ত দেয়নি আর আজকে আপনাকে রক্ত দিয়ে চিঠি লিখছে।
ফোন দিয়ে যেতেছি, তুমি ফোনই ধরো না, তোমার ফোন ধরার কোনো নামই নাই, কোনো কথা, তোমার ফোন ধরো না কেন?
এবারে এক্সামের প্রিপারেশন কিরকম তোদের? আমি তো খুবই এক্সাইটেড কারণ আমার প্রিপারেশন খুবই ভালো।
দিশা দরজা খোল। কি বুঝতেছি না।
সুন্দর মতো যাবি, ভাবির নামটা জিজ্ঞাসি। আর শোন, ভালো মতো কথা কবে, ভাবি লাগে খালি ফাপড় আর চাপাবাজি, ফাপড় আর চাপাবাজি, এই বাদে আর কিছু পারছোস? বুকিং মানে বুকিং, তুমি আমার আমি তোমার, বুকিং দিয়ে দিছি ফাইনাল।
আমাকে বুকিং দিছে মানে আমাকে কে বুকিং দিছে দোস্ত?
তোর যে আশিক আছে না, এখন তো ও আমার পিছনে লাগছে।
এই এই দুলাভাই সামনে থাকলে যে সালাম দিতে হয়, আপনি শিখাই নাই তোরা? কেমন আছো তুমি?
ভালো।
আমাকে জিজ্ঞেস করবো না রক্তটা দিবি তুই?
আমি কেন রক্ত দেবো? প্রেম খরচ তুই, রক্ত আমার বন্ধু দিছেন আপনাকে অনেক ভালোবাসি ভাবি, আপনার ওর রক্ত যাওয়াটা বিধা হতে দিবেন না ভাবি।
তুমি পড়ো, ঘুমাও তাহলে। গুড নাইট আর বাই।
সহজে কোনো কিছু পাওয়ার মজা নাই, কিন্তু আমগোর দোষ জিসান কি কম। ও ভাবি লাগে বেটা, লজ্জা লাগে না?
কি ওর কথা বাদ দে।
তুই যা জামুই তো।
এই, তুই চুপ থাক।
আমি তো আপনাকে চিনি না।
চিনো না যে আজকে চিনলা, আরো চিনবা, আস্তে আস্তে চিনবা। আর শুনো,
আরে বেন সাহেব, নতুন নতুন সম্বন্ধ তো তাই চিনতে পারেন নাই। ওই যে আপনার বান্ধবী তুলি আছে না,
আমার তো তাহলে বিশাল বিপদ। আমি তাহলে কোচিং এ কেমনে যাব, পড়াশোনা কিভাবে করবো? আমার তো ভয় লাগতেছে।
কি খবর?
আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
ওয়ালাইকুম আসসালাম। কি খবর? 3 2 1। আর আজকে রাত 10টা, হ্যাঁ?
রক্ত জ্ঞান।
ইতিহাস লিখবো, ভালোবাসার ইতিহাস।
ভালো আছি, আপনি ভালো আছেন?
আমি তো ভালো আছি। তো তোমার বোন কোথায়?
আচ্ছা একটা মিনিট, আমি কল দিচ্ছি।
এক রাতে ভালো হয়ে গেল, এটা আমার বিশ্বাস করতে হবে। দোস্ত আমার না ভয় লাগতেছে।
এই কি করবি? চেনা চেহারা না হলো কি চেহারা, কথা তো বেশি চেহারা ওরকম বেশি।
আপনি না শুই না না দেখা সব জানা ফেলছেন বাবা।